In 2025, ISRO is going to launch the Gaganyaan mission. And when we talk about Gaganyaan mission, it is basically India's first manned mission flight to the space. But do you know that before the launch of the manned mission, there is a need to have a various tests to be conducted by ISRO? So why the test is being conducted? Well, you know that when we talk about visiting a space, there are risks associated to it, and the risks mainly can affect our astronauts because there can be pressure variation, there can be technical fault in the launch vehicle that may challenge our astronauts. So, to deal with that uncertainty, there is a need to have a proper test to be conducted. So, that's why ISRO from 2019 onwards, they are conducting test after test so that to assure that our futuristic missions should be in a correct way and that should not harm to any our astronaut, because protecting the humans should be the first priority while ongoing any of the space mission. That's why today, on 21st of October, ISRO successfully conducted its first test flight, and the name of that test flight is TBD-1. And here, the ISRO tested that if there is technical fault in the launch vehicle, so how the crew module should be separated from the launch vehicle so that we can safeguard our astronauts. And this is the image which I am showcasing you that actually talks about the mechanism that are going through this test. So you can see in the picture, this is the picture of the crew module. And when we talk about the crew module, here the astronauts will be kept in a earth-like pressurized environment. And why there is a need of earth-like pressurized environment? Well, you know that this will ensure the survivability of the astronauts. That's why in various science fiction movie, you see that any of the space vehicle which is getting launched, that are ensured with the earth-like environment so that our astronauts can handle the uncertainty in a more easy way. So that is the basic point you need to understand. Okay, so the test today is basically to demonstrate that if there is any fault or the technical fault in the launch vehicle or in the middle of the mission, that means we can safeguard our astronaut from these issue. Okay, so you can see here that along with the rocket we have the crew module fitted here, and that was launched today. And you can see that this total launch vehicle will go up to 17 km and will be separated from the crew module, and the crew module that will be demonstrated to be having the safe landing on the ocean body. Okay, so here the ocean body will be our Bay of Bengal. Okay, because it was launched from the Sri Harikota. So that is the point. And also you need to understand how this crew module will work. So you can understand that to bring the crew module back, there is a need to have a opening of the parachute. Okay, the concept of parachute you can link the opening of the parachute that will ease down the like the ongoing pressure from the air, and that will help in downfalling of the module in more easier way. So that is the point, and that is the importance of the test flight. And in 2024, basically ISRO will launch another test, that is your the second a module test. Okay, and that will send the humanoid robot, that is Vyomitra, to the space to test again. And then finally in 2025 there will be the test demonstration of the human flight mission, that will be the final stage. So that means by 2025 actually we are going to successfully launch our Gaganyaan mission. Okay, and in the Gaganyaan mission the humans will be put inside the crew module, and that will be launched into the space, and that will be a milestone for our Indian research team and the ISRO, and for India that will be a very proud moment. So this is basically the overall idea, and you should understand why I am telling you, because UPSC is now integrating into the technicalities of the space mission. Like in 2023 paper, UPSC did ask about the technical systems of the Chandrayaan 3. You need to explain about that. So that means for the Gaganyaan mission, which is also very precious mission for India, you need to have an understanding about the crew module, about the crew escape module. So that's why I provided you the overview of this. So now we are shifting to the editorial discussion. Hello and welcome you all. Welcome to the Bajirao IAS Academy. Today is 21st of October and we are going to discuss the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. But what article that we are going to discuss, you can look into the slide. That is the first article. It is related to Gaganyaan mission, and we have definitely concluded about it. The second article will be related to improving our crime investigation in India. Actually, you know that our crime investigation system has various faults, and because of that we have under trials. Okay, and people who are not involved in the crime also, they are punished, they are behind the war. That means the number of under trials in India is very high, and sometimes it is also a scenario that a person may face the jail term more than the punishment which has been prescribed in the law. So that is the issue. So how to reform it, and what are the challenges, we all are going to discuss, and that is also very important context. Here we will be discussing about the Malimat committee and its recommendation, and also the Prakash Singh case and the recommendations which was given by the Supreme Court. Okay, and now the third article will be related to the caste census which was conducted in Bihar. We will be analyzing its impact on secularism. Okay, so these type of questions UPSC do ask. So here we will be understanding about its impact in a detailed way. Okay, and I have limited this article to the point of discussion only for the UPSC examination point of view, and I have excluded the political angle included in this. Okay, so that you should be focused on the exam oriented discussion. Okay, otherwise the discussion lecture will be much higher. So I have basically compiled the important things which was mentioned in the editorial. Okay, so now we are shifting to the question discussion, which is our rapid warm-up session, and here we try to discuss about the previous year questions. So you can see that this is the question of 2023 UPSC prelims, and that belongs to the ancient history. And the question is, souls are not only the property of animals and the plant life, but also of rocks, running water, and many other natural objects not looked as living by other religious sect. The above statement reflects one of the core belief of which of the following religious sect of ancient India, whether it is Buddhism or Jainism or Shaivism or Vaishnavism. So you have to choose the correct option. So try to solve this question, and this is a very easy question if you have understanding, basic understanding about the Buddhism, Jainism, Saivism, and Vaishnavism. Okay, so you will be able to answer. Please try to answer in the comment box. Make this discussion participative and try to respond to our questions that we ask. That will ensure your active participation and that will also improve your focus of concentration. Okay, so listening the discussion in a more concentrated way, that will benefit in your lifetime, in your examination time. Okay, because you will be more able to identify, recall, remember the things, the contents that we are discussing. Now we are shifting to the UPSC mains question. The answer of this prelims question will be shared to you during our last session of the discussion. Okay, so please be continue with us, and if you are liking our initiative, please do like, share, and subscribe our channel so that your friends do also get benefited from this discussion. Okay, so now for the main series, you can understand the question. The crucial aspect of developmental process has been the inadequate attention paid to the human resource development in India. Suggest measures that can address this adequacy. So when we talk about development, development is an umbrella term and it is also subjective. What development means for the poor, maybe the development will be different for the richer sections. Okay, but for the poor, we mainly focuses for the poor. So for the poor, we need to ensure that their basic income should be there. Okay, they have the right to shelter, they have the right to house, they have the right to livelihood. So these are the initiative that needs to be promoted, and for that there is a need to have a government intervention. So do the government is intervening or not? Yes, government is intervening, and also our constitution says to intervene by the state. Okay, we know about the DPSP. Okay, we know about other provisions which are mentioned in the constitution that talks about the promotion of the humans in India, the promotion of the scientific development of Indians. Okay, but there is an important issue to be understand here, that development has many aspects. We know development can also mean like putting money to the bank's account of the poor, and that will help them in income security. But the most important aspect of development should be what? Try to understand the human capital development. If we are able to raise the human capital of a person, the skill of a person, that means they can have the potential to earn more, to learn more, and to gain more in terms of competency efficiency. Okay, so that is the first pillar and that needs to be promoted. And in India we have lots of younger population of the demographic dividend, and for that to perform well we need to have inculcation of the skills into them. Okay, and that's why there is a need to have a human capital formation. But India, this is on the back track, and we have to make into the front track, so that to ensure the development of our people, the development of our human capital, and ultimately the development of our society and the nation overall. Okay, because the development of the nation depends on the development of the village, the development of the urban cities, the development of the like districts, and all these constitutes the people, and ultimately the focus should be on the people and creation of the skills and the human capital. So that is the point. I have elaborated more on that. You can more add to the context in our like comment section. Okay, try to answer, try to do add points in the discussion. So now we are shifting to the second article, and the second article will be related to GS paper 2, and the topic talks about basically reforming our investigation system. Like we have talked to you that in India our criminal justice system faces many lacunas in terms of delay in investigation or malpractices in investigation, or also if there is a investigation but the time taken for the investigation is so huge, then sometimes the under trials are going on and going on, and the punishment basically overcrosses the terms in the jail by the person. So that is the point. So there is a need to reform it, and for reforming there was various suggestions and the committees and the Supreme Court directives given from time to time. Okay, but that reform should depend on whether the problems got addressed or not. If not, that means the problem will remain a problem. Okay, so here we are talking about a context like the Supreme Court of India recently in Rajesh versus the state of Madhya Pradesh, while setting aside the conviction of three accused persons who was alleged to be involved in murder offenses. So they were basically made free. So here you have to understand the basic thing. What do you mean by conviction and what do you mean by accused? So accused is the person whom the doubt that that person may have did the crime is basically the accused. Okay, and when we talk about the convicted, that means the charge which was on the accused person has been clearly verified. That means they will face the punishment. Okay, so that is the difference between the convicted and the accused. Many students do face doubt in understanding these two. Okay, so that is the point. And also, while delivering the judgment, they emphasized that there is a need to have a consistent and dependable code of investigation so that the guilty do not walk free on the technicalities or any technical fault. And also, the court tried to force the state that you should have a implementation of Justice Malimat Committee, which was established on reforms of the criminal justice system, and also they talked about the reports of the Law Commission. Now we will be talking about Justice Malimat Committee, their recommendations, and what the Law Commission suggests basically to improve the criminal investigation and the justice. But we have to understand some of the difference between the custody, the police custody, and the judicial custody. Okay, so let us understand basically the custody. So what do you mean by custody? The word custody means apprehending someone for protective care, like keeping some of the persons. Okay, you can understand with an example. Suppose there is a classroom and the classroom has some of the students, but one students are basically creating ruckus in this class. So what the teacher, maybe you are the in charge of that class, what you will do, you will basically uh, keep this student who are creating ruckus in control of you. Okay, so that they should not disturb the whole class. So that's why here comes the concept of custody. Custody simply means protective care, keeping the persons in the surveillance of the police in simple terms. Okay, so that they may not promote the crime. Okay, so that is the point. And when we talk about custody and arrest, so they are not synonymous. There is a difference. Like when we talk about the arrest, that it includes custody, but when we talk about custody, so basically it may or may not include arrest. Okay, so it is true that in every arrest there is a custody, but vice versa is not true. And when we talk about arrest, remand, and bail, they are components related to the investigation, And also there is a difference between the police custody and the judicial custody in the criminal procedure code, and that's why UPSC did had asked a question in the prelims about the differences between the police custody and the judicial custody. So in judicial custody, basically the custody of the person is kept under the monitoring of the magistrate or the judge, but in police custody, basically the control of the person is basically under the hand of the police. That is the basic difference. Okay. And for the investigation in case of the judicial custody, the permission of the judicial magistrate or the judges is required, but not in the case of police custody. Okay. There are many more differences, but we are limiting to the discussion. Okay. And you should also explore about this difference. And now we are shifting to the main point. So how we can reform the crime investigation in India? So first of all, there is a suggestion that we should separate the investigation wing from law and order wing. Otherwise, there is a chances that the people, the police which are in charge of investigation, they may face double burden. Okay. And also the biasness. So there is a need to have a separation of investigation, and this was suggested by Justice Malimat Committee as well as the Law Commission report. Okay. And this is leading to the a standard of police investigation poor, and that are causing the low rate of conviction. Okay. But not only the separation of investigation is required, but there is many more things to be done. Okay. There is a need to have a review of the reforms that has been taken place in the police system. Like we have implemented various reforms, but how these are performing, how well these are performing, that are needs to be understand. Okay. Like I told you, Malimat Committee recommended the separate investigation wing from law and order wing, but it cannot be a panacea. Panacea means ultimate solution for all the problems. It cannot be a panacea for improving the investigation in its totality. Why? Because when we talk about the like improving investigation, not only the police is responsible, but the states, the government are also responsible. So the efforts made by the states must also be reviewed, that whether the reforms which was taken place by various recommendations of the committees and the commission, it was well addressed or not. So that is the point. And there are other challenges which are facing upon, like there is another suggestions: expeditious investigation and trial of the criminal case against the influential people personalities. Like we talk about the politicians. Okay, they do have many criminal cases are pending, but the investigations are not so much fast. Okay, and that leads to the criminalization of the politics. You know the topic of criminalization of the politics. When in the politics, the criminal minded people do enters into the political system, and there is a bunch of articles you may have read about it. Okay. And along with that, we have the understaffed and insufficient priority given for the investigation of the crime and upgradation of the skills of the investigation. Okay, so that is the point. So what the recommendation is, like we have to implement the direction of the top court which was given in Prakash Singh and others versus Union of India. So in this judgment, there was 7 directions given from the top Supreme Court. So we need to review that whether these 7 directions were implemented in various states or not. Because if these directions are getting implemented in a better way, that means the justice system, the investigation system is going to improve. But we will look into the status, how they are performing. Okay. And this suggestions which was given by the Supreme Court, they was to be taken place first in the town or the urban area, and then the reform should be gradually extended to the smaller towns. So that is the point. And when we talk about the review of the implementation, okay, any of the committee or the Supreme Court directives which was given, so when we talk about the review, basically Prakash Singh, you know the famous case and the Supreme Court directives to implement in the Prakash Singh case, we know that. And Prakash Singh basically former Director General of Police of Uttar Pradesh, and also former DGP of Assam, and also remained in the post of former Director General of Border Security Force. So basically, he had written a book, and in that book, he reviewed basically the implementation of the court directives given to reform our investigation system or the police system. Okay, and the name of the book is The Struggle for Police Reforms in India, and he talked about the conditions like 17 states have taken measures to separate the investigative and law and order functions of the police. So you know that we have the more than 28 states and UTs. So basically only 17 states have taken measures to separate. Okay, that means what we need to do, like the remaining state should have to separate. So you can also write in the recommendation also. And when we talk about the overall compliance of the 7 directives that was given in the Prakash Singh case, only the 9 states fell under the good and satisfactory category, and 20 states in the average and poor category. That means the compliance is not implemented as directed by the Supreme Court. So here the failure of the state in promoting the reforms which was suggested by various committee and the directives of the court is not getting implemented. That is the point you need to understand. So here the role of a state becomes also important to reform the criminal justice system, okay, or the investigation system. That's why the crisis is not only from the side of the police but also from the side of the state. And also there is a talk about additional manpower should be needed to separate two wings, that is the investigative wing and the law and order wing. And why we need additional manpower, you should understand that, let's say that in the modern time there is the complexities of cases and the issues arising, like the cyber crime, okay, technological crime, organized crime. So there is a need to have a continuous evolution of the police, upgradation of the skills of the police, and for that they require additional time, okay, so that they can practice the upgradation in the skills. But we see that there are lots of work that are performed by the police, and because of additional work they doesn't get sufficient time to upgrade their skill. So what we needed additional manpower so that the police get free from the additional burden, and their routine should also incorporate the like training and the upgradation of these skills. Okay, so that is the point. So only symptomatic treatment of the police reforms by imposing laws, rules, regulations will not help. And here the Supreme Court needs to step forward and ask every state and union territory to report compliance of its directive, whether the directive which has been given by the Supreme Court was accepted or not, or implemented or not in the letter and the spirit. So that is the point. Now we are shifting to the second article that also will be related to the GS paper 2, and basically here we are talking about the caste census which was conducted by the Bihar government recently. Okay, so we will be discussing the angle, like when we say about the caste system in India, it is from the ancient times, and because of the caste system we have a caste discrimination. And caste discrimination not only in a particular sector but in every sector we face the caste discrimination, like in terms of employment, in terms of the occupation what we choose, like the lower caste in the earlier times was not given the opportunity to rise, okay, in terms of the progress, in terms of the development. So the caste identity do have the linkages to the poverty. Can you understand this in a deeper manner, that poverty and the caste status has a deep relation in India? That is very important. Okay, so basically what was the context here, that recently caste based survey was conducted by the Bihar government, and after that the opposition party at the national level, they demanded that there should be a conduct of the caste census at the nationwide. Okay, and why, according to this article, there is a need to have a caste census, basically to understand about the distribution of the workforce with respect to the various castes. Okay, and also to ensure that the benefits which are provided by the state should be delivered to the right person at the right time. Okay, and in India there is also another important point, that the caste status also determines the poverty. Like, according to the scholars who work on the Indian poverty, there are two kinds of poverty in India. One is your economic poverty, and another is your institutional poverty. Economic poverty, in terms of, like, you have less income generation. Okay, you have like low skill work that will ensure that your income should be in a limited way. Okay, but when we talk about institutional poverty, so basically caste plays a pivotal role in the perpetuation of the institutional poverty, because the caste determines the occupations. Okay, you can understand that the caste determines the occupation, what work you will do, it will be determined by your caste. Like, we have talked about manual scavengering. Who do the manual scavengering? Basically the lower caste. Okay, so historically the caste determines the occupations in a skill of Indian population, and in the modern economy as well, most occupations are network driven, in which the caste plays a decisive role. Hence, conducting caste census is very important to analyze the distribution of the workforce, the occupations which are held by various persons. Okay, and also when we talk about implementing it or the conducting of it at the national level, so the present government basically do not aim for conducting it. And remember, we are basically giving you some deep learning of this article, that why the government do not want to conduct at the national level, because you understand that the present government has huge voter percentage of the Hindu majority population. Okay, so if there will be a nationwide caste survey, that means it might open a Pandora box of claims and counter claims relating to the position and the powers within the Hindu community. Okay, so after that, maybe there can be a rise of divisive policy, and the Hindu, which has been catered as a unified way by the present government. Okay, that may affect their uh, like uh, vote. Okay, so that is the point, and so that is the issue. So that's why there is basically a reluctance about conducting of it. And this is the end of the article. Hope you understood. Now we are shifting to the map based question. And why we have taken the question of map, because you are seeing that Israel and Palestine, they are facing a huge war attack. Okay, so we will understand in a basic way, like the map of Israel, and here we have the bordering countries like Egypt, Jordan, and here we have Syria and we have Lebanon. So remember the bordering nations. Okay, and also we have the like the Gaza, and you know the Gaza, that the Israeli army force is trying to enter here, and they are trying to control over Hamas. And Hamas is basically a terrorist organization that has been declared by the US and other European countries. Okay, so this is Gaza, and this is basically the West Bank, and some location you should know that this is Haifa. Haifa is the port in Israel. Okay, and also Tel Aviv, and we have the Jerusalem. Okay, and you can see the Sea of Galilee here. You can see that Jordan River is passing and entering to the Dead Sea. Okay, so Dead Sea is between whom? The Jordan and the Israel. Okay, so that is the point. And you can see this is the Golan Height. Okay, and the Golan Height is basically, it's a disputed region between Syria and the Israel. So that is the point. Hope you understood. And that is the end of the article. And now we are shifting the questions of the prelims that we have discussed. Okay. So basically, the answer of this question is Jainism, because in Jainism, each and everything that we see around us, they have the soul. Okay. Even the agricultural crop has soul. Even the paper you uses for writing do have soul, but varying intensity. So that was the crux of the message given by the Mahavira, the 24th Tirthankara. Okay, so basically this is the point. And when I ask you another question, tell me about who was the first Tirthankara and the second and the 23rd. Okay, and on which river side the Mahavira attained the Kevalya, that is the ultimate knowledge. So please try to tell. So that is the end of the article. Hope you understood. We will discuss the next discussion in the latter times. So thank you, friend. Thank you very much for the discussion.